Hello, Elite 156. My name is Jamie Ramirez, and welcome to my literacy autobiography. I would like to start with a little bit of background about myself. I came to the United States when I was 5 years old, not knowing the language. My teacher told my mom that I would not pass grade because I was very behind in my reading and writing due to the fact that I didn't know the language. So my mom said that that would not be me, and she decided that I would read at home, and so she would make me read out loud, and then she would ask me questions about what I read. Um, so those are some of my earliest memories to my road to literacy. Also, Goodman talked about family traditions as roads to literacy, and I remember that one of my traditions at that time was writing letters to my grandma, my caregiver in Mexico. I would always write her letters, so those are some of my earliest memories of my literacy road. And then as a youth, of course, television played a very huge part of my road to literacy. I never realized that watching TV um, influenced me, but according to Goodman, the technological road to literacy includes watching television, videos, and the use of technology. So these are some of my favorite shows that I used to watch. A lot of the themes I saw were very relatable, and I acquired a lot of new vocabulary. I remember Arthur, Cyber Chase, especially Cyber Chase, used a lot of new vocabulary, scientific, mathematical vocabulary in the show. So that was always very fun. As I got older in middle school, I didn't really have to read anymore. My mom didn't pressure me to read. I already knew the language. But every week, my mom would take me to the library and I would pick out books. And some of my favorite books to pick out was Dear Dumb Diary and Captain Underpants. Dear Dumb Diary was such a relatable book for me, not only because the character, her name was Jamie, just like me, but a lot of the themes that it treated were themes that adolescents go through, so that is why I enjoyed reading them. In regards to Captain Underpants, of course, the illustrations were fun, a little bit of words. That's what kids really enjoyed at the time, and that's what I really liked. All right, this letter is actually about somebody. My seventh and eighth grade block teacher. Block was English language arts and history, and I had the same teacher, Mrs. Thomas, because I was in the gifted and talented education program during this time. So I had the same teacher because she was the only teacher that ran that program at that time. And I remember Mrs. Thomas would leave us a lot of readings of articles that treated to cultural and political issues. And I remember one time telling her that I really did not like having to read so much for her class. And she told me that it wasn't really about the reading, but it was about what I took from the reading to apply to the real world. And that takes me to Frere's article where he says reading is not exhausted merely by decoding the written word or written language, but rather anticipating by and extending into knowledge of the world. And that's what Mrs. Thomas made me realize. I once had to write a letter to President Obama regarding an immigration issue, and I realized that everything that I had read in the articles, I was able to use what I had read and apply it to let my voice be heard through the letter I wrote to the president. I didn't get to go home because I live kind of far away, but here's an example of what a letter from President Obama looked like. And yes, I still have my letter. This is not the original letter, but I have that letter that I proudly still hold. This is an image of a computer. I got my first computer when I was in middle school, and I remember that that is all I like to do, be on the computer. Some of the things that I did on there that I didn't know were literacy roads were play video games. I play computer games. This is one of my favorite games, Diner Dash. Uh, the purpose of the game was to keep the customers happy, and I never realized that I did a lot of reading while playing this game. For example, you see on the right hand where they're having conversations, and it's all in regards to running the restaurant. So I never knew that I was reading while having fun. That this is the best part about reflecting about my literacy road. Family traditions is one of the literacy roads that Goodman mentions. I remember always sitting at home at dinner table, talking to my parents about my day or ideas that I had about school. This also takes me to my survival road to literacy, where because I was a Spanish-speaking student, my parents didn't know English. I would always have to translate for them when it came to parent conferences or different situations, and that also formed my literacy road. Another example of my family unique traditions were having to build transformers for my brother. I would have to read the meticulous instructions in order for him to have his little robots and cars. One of my favorite things that I could remember is, being so frustrated after reading these instructions and not having the transformer be correct. But, through reading, I was able to make my brother happy. Another example of a family tradition that I had was reading on Sundays the Bible for catechism. So I always read the Bible, didn't know that I was actually reading and building a road to literacy, but it did help form the person that I am today. As I got older, in high school, television became a huge influence. Like I said, I would love to watch novelas, which is the best thing about being bilingual. I would get to watch novelas in English or Spanish. Some of the shows in English that I liked were Everybody Loves Raymond and George Lopez, where a lot of comedy was involved, and that is what I enjoyed. And I never realized that it was forming my literacy road, but now I do, and I still watch these shows. They're amazing. MySpace was a technological literacy road for me. I remember having to Google how to create layouts, how to put music into my page. So here's an example. It's actually not the best example because my MySpace does not exist, but my MySpace used to be super cool. And another one of my favorite memories is growing up, I used to enjoy writing poetry a lot. I used to like rhyming, and to this day, I really enjoy reading and writing. But I also liked a lot of art. I didn't get to go home, like I said. I live very far, so I wasn't able to actually get a lot of my work. But here's one of my works. It's a poem to my mom, and I did a lot of digital art, and I do like to paint and draw. So those are some other literacy roads that I had during high school. And to wrap this up, like I said, I there's that misconception that your literacy road is built through reading and writing. And after reading the readings and creating my literacy autobiography, I have realized that my literacy roads were influenced by several factors, several media, internet, radio, television, magazines, comic books. The list is endless. But yes, that is my literacy road. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.